And we're back.
We're back, man. We some determined dogs up in here, man. You can't mess with us. We will not let technical difficulties get the best of this stream.
Yeah. Wow. Some weirdness.
Yeah. It's happened. It's happened though. Just got to roll through it. Just got to keep going. You want to go ahead and roll this tape, or?
Yeah, just go ahead and roll the tape. You guys missed a pretty quality rant about trans kids from me when the thing went dead. But
let's roll back a little. We can roll back a few seconds. Yeah.
I'm passionate about what people do with their beliefs, not what their fucking beliefs are. And what Doug does with his beliefs is antithetical to human thriving, or at least to humans like me thriving.
Mm-hmm.
Whether he has a God telling him that that's the way things ought to be or not.
Let me steel man this just a touch. Do you believe Doug wants to essentially execute the trans a trans way? Do you believe he wants to literally get rid of all of you, as you just stated?
No, I think that what Doug believes is that children, I'm sure you will agree, that adults can choose to do whatever they want, but children should not be permitted to express or be afforded care for conditions that cause them distress.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, kids don't know who they are. And I believe that's a fallacious view. I believe that's a fallacious view from personal experience. I believe it's a fallacious view from the study of many years. I'm not the only child. When I was a child in the 1950s, who knew they were trans? And Doug doesn't believe that's possible. Doug, in his wisdom, believes that society as a whole should have the ability to forbid children like me and their parents and their medical professionals to take steps to make their lives easier. I have had these conversations with him, and he is adamant about that. That's what he believes. And I have used the Socratic method with Doug, and he has used it with me. We are at an impasse here. So the question is, what do you believe.
I believe we get the politicians and the priests out of the medical office that makes that decision. Ultimately,
But
there is going to be a
that's
doctor,
the
he or she.
issue, Tux.
Okay, we'll advocate for getting the priest and the politician out of the medical office.
They have been, Tux.
Well,
They have
it's not
been.
Doug. It's not Doug that put them
Yes,
there, and it's
it
not Doug that's going to
is.
get them
Doug
out. It's you.
wants to put them into that conversation. They have been out of that conversation until 2018.
Like, your voice is going to be far better at getting them out than Doug's is going to be getting them in.
I don't see how that's true, given the facts on the ground.
Your
I don't
personal
see how that's
experience.
true, given the facts on the ground. There are 28 states who have passed laws since 2019 regulating this kind of stuff with the full-throated support of Pine Creek Doug. And you sitting there saying it's not his fault.
I don't see how Doug could possibly
kidding me, man.
Be responsible for whatever it is that you're fighting right now. You're fighting Doug's.
All right. This is just driving me crazy. So first off is the double speak about Doug. When they want to support him, he's a genius. He's brilliant. He's a force to be reckoned with. He's a world beater. When all of a sudden he's saying indefensible shit, oh, he's not important. He doesn't have any influence. What do you mean? You're going to defeat Doug so easily. Doug's a paperweight. You know, it's like, which one is it?
Damn it.
It's all right. That really bothers me. And then also this sort of atomization of the issue. Well, you know, I think Doug just lived in Canada and he just moved to the United States. You know, he hasn't really, you know, Doug doesn't have anything to do with going on in Texas. What? Doug hasn't put any, Doug never put a doctor in your, a politician in your medical room. Show me the picture of Doug in the hospital escorting the doctor, the politician into your exam room. I mean, this is just playing stupid, right?
Yeah, basically, pragmatic crystal spelled the actuals and the factuals over in the chat. Almost 30% of trans youth live in states that have passed bans on gender affirming care. Is Doug's state one of them? I don't know, but he advocates for those bans.
Right. Yes.
He
100%.
would vote for that ban in, I presume, Indiana.
Right. 100%. And continue to support the party that wants to do so, you know, across the globe, honestly. And that's the problem here. And he's such a bad faith actor. I mean, he has had this same issue in his conversations with you. He's had the same issues in his conversations with Lena. He called in to the line and
Takis.
more or less
my suggestion, by the way.
Yeah. And basically got told off there and got to the point where Arden just didn't even want to be bothered, right?
Or Ben. He's an idiot.
I don't understand why. To me, it becomes pretty hard to make the argument that he's not a transphobe. I mean, I see it plain as sight. I just don't even know where they're coming from at this point. I don't even know how it's defensible. It's like, that's his reputation. Like, he's, you know, we would, if we said, let's talk about transphobes and atheist YouTube space, Pine Creek would be, you know, in the first names on that list.
Yeah, he'd be featured.
Yeah. I also think that I feel like there's some selective attention happening here where Doug, at least for a while, was partitioning a lot of his radical political views off to his Pine Creek Politics channel. Not to say that it isn't pretty apparent what they are on the Pine Creek channel, but I do think a lot of his supporters deliberately tune out when he's discussing political issues that make them uncomfortable. And it's like it gives them some sort of plausible deniability. Well, hey, I don't watch that stream, or I didn't see that, or you know, I don't like when Doug talks politics, so I don't tune into those episodes. Yeah, mate. Well, he's still doing it, and people are still watching. So again, this is your friend at this point. This is somebody you're sticking up for. We're going to make you aware of what they're doing. You, whether you watch or don't watch, does not excuse the fact that you're aware that this is how people feel about his content, and you don't care enough to stop supporting him.
Well, I think the other thing that reflects a certain amount of disingenuousness in this argument, in this line of argumentation, is that Doug has no influence, right? Well, he influences you.
Absolutely.
You won't. You know. I've said this. I've said this in the background, off the channel before. But it's like, well, I really I really enjoy playing poker. I go over to Herman Goering's house, over his place, every Thursday. You know why? He's got terrible views, but I love his artwork. I love his art collection.
Right.
It's amazing.
Right.
Yeah, but where did he get the art collection?
Yeah. It's to me, it's no different than hanging out with the KKK because you enjoy the barbecues.
Right. They've got great chicken, best chicken in Arizona. Fantastic.
Yeah, same deal. I forgot I'm in control of this thing. We're on your channel. You want me to roll the tape?
Yeah, roll the tape.
Questions. You're fighting Doug's
I'm
data.
fighting the
You're
fucking. I'm fighting what's happening. And
yes, but that was happening long before Doug said a word.
Oh, for fuck's sake! You must.
If you want to get them out, you need to.
Are you on residuals?
The facial expression. Are you on residuals? Steph, this was gold. Steph's facial expressions alone are so meme worthy. You sound like
I get a lot of criticism for that, Chase.
You sound like the robbers from Home Alone. Y'all remember the robbers from Home Alone? Oh, it's so good. It's so good.
What are residuals? I know what residuals are, but I don't know what
royalties.
I could be on that's called residuals.
Dude.
That was
like you have a voice, you have a power. If you use that power, it kicks Doug's butt up one side and down the other.
But
I don't think
what I'd love, I would love for us to not end this in any kind of animosity.
We can go back to P-Town.
We can, but Tux, what I'm trying to tell you, what I'm trying to convince you of, is that having, I appreciate your thinking that Pine Creek has an approach that you dig. What I can't appreciate, and what I would love to maybe convince you to come along as an ally in A fight that is existential for people like me is to recognize that Doug's not.
Mm-hmm.
He's not.
I just gotta say, Steph, that is such a clear and direct ask. I hear a lot of the awareness game, and I think that it gets a lot of moderates choked up. Sorry, I know there's a loud vehicle outside or whatever. But awareness is a first step, and I hear so often people are afraid to, unwilling to go beyond it, because I think it's where they can stay comfortable. But this was such a clear ask. It's like if you're on our side, you have to recognize who's not. And unfortunately, when it comes to these issues, we don't dictate who that is. We've got to look at who's at the tip of the spear, and then look who's holding the spear. And I mean what I'm about to say sincerely. I wish Doug were different. I know that I'm not one of Doug's card playing buddies, but he's offered me to play cards to join him for poker night. And some of y'all remember that when Doug named his black friends, I was the first person he named. I met a lot of the people in this community at Doug's channel. I wish Doug wasn't a fucking bigot, so I could still be a huge fan of Pine Creek who tuned into all the lives and was happy about meeting and growing community through his channel. But that ain't the deal. And we had to recognize, holy shit, Doug's said fucked up things about this. He said fucked up things about that. He said, well, you know what? The picture's starting to emerge. We got to get up out of here. And that's what we did. But I love the clarity of the ask stuff. I really do.
He just isn't. And I don't think he's a terrible human being. I think he's a rather, I've enjoyed every conversation I've ever had with the guy.
Well,
but he's just
I'm gonna
not,
use...
he's just not the, he's the guy who's going to vote for those laws.
To use an analogy, an anti-war analogy, if you clench your fists, if I clench my fists like this,
is
all right, we fight with our fists.
Oh, crap!
How much life is promoted versus if I cup my hands and I bring water to as many people as I can.
Seriously,
you be the cup. You turn that cup into a mug. You turn that mug into a bucket, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Oh my God.
That's how this
Steph, you're honestly in disbelief.
Like it's a seed. And that is the best way to combat it.
Gang, we call that face. Did this nigga really? that's
I'm familiar with the expression. Yeah, it'd be inappropriate for me to use it.
I know it.
Oh, it was so good. But look, I was also having this thought that the moderates like this, they are the Christian missionaries of, you know, the culture war. The same way in which I was watching this podcast that were being critical of Christian missionaries, and one of the most enlightening things that I have really never dedicated a lot of time to thinking about is the fact that if Christian missionaries worked so well, we wouldn't keep needing Christian missionaries. These people have been going to the same places for decades, if not centuries, and nothing gets better because they don't actually go to do anything to materially improve the conditions of the people. Rather than bringing them real solutions, or just staying out of their way and let them do their thing. They get the high. I went around the world. I had to get a malaria shot. Then I went and I was reading to the poor kids and da 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 da. They get their little mission high for like 6 months, and then they go back and going about they business and never think about them people again. It just perpetuates this cycle, and I feel like that's what current moderates are not getting. It's like, do you really think nobody's ever thought to, kill them with kindness? You get further with honey than you do with, just talk to them a little bit nicer, just give them some better information. They just need, if you hit them with the better data, they'll see that you have superior data and they'll be on your side. Just be nice to them, don't. And it's like, if that worked centuries ago when they first started that nonsense, we wouldn't be here. But they for some reason they don't pay attention to the fact that we have the receipts, we have the history, and instead they just want to live it all over again and pretend that their peace mission is going to be the thing that really turns it around. And it's very frustrating. So, long-winded analogy, but that's what I got.
yeah. It's that. Oh, hold on, just a second. I think I can get away with this without getting completely screwed by copyright infringement. But
hey, the Skeptical Satanist, love that name. Oh, should I? I'm gonna see if you can just magically.
Yeah, I can do this.
Okay.
Yeah,
awesome.
I can do this. Yeah, I can do this. Yeah. I can. It's just a pain in the ass doing it.
It's people don't appreciate how much goes into hosting and producing at the same time.
Yeah,
gotta start giving ourselves more credit for doing both. Boom, magic.
It is nice to block the doorway. It is nice to go to jail. There are nicer ways to do it, but the nice ways always fail. It isn't nice. You told us once, you told us twice, but if that is freedom's price, we don't mind. It isn't.
Oh,
All
yeah.
Right.
Oh, I like that.
So when I get some 50-year-old, get off my lawn, telling me about the civil rights movement, telling me about the anti-war movement. The civil rights movement was my sister's movement. The anti-war movement was mine. I was in Washington, D.C. at the age of 15, getting tear gassed by my country's armed forces in front of the State Department. If you think, you, the guy that told me somewhere in the stream that your first election, you voted for George Herbert Walker Bush, former director of the CIA, and you start lecturing me about the anti-war movement, or you start telling me about the civil rights movement when my brother-in-law was on the Edmund Pettus Bridge, you can seriously step off.
Yeah.
Seriously. Just step off. It never works to just sort of sit back and say, oh, well, the guy's a great poker player. I have a good time with him. I'm on your side. I have your back, but I'm not going to tell the guy that he's full of shit. I'm not going to tell the guy that he ought to get off this tip. I'm not going to tell the guy that having fun, poking fun at Matt Dillahunty over trans issues is kind of an asshole thing to do.
Absolutely.
He's an asshole. I agree. The guy's an asshole. Yeah, but here you are basically saying, oh, well, the time is on your side. Folks, this is why in this 3-hour long conversation that didn't, the 3 hour, the first bit of the conversation was basically looking at, a Catholic priest, father, brother, whatever, somehow involved in the Catholic movement, had a very unique take on biblical creation that I found fascinating. And we were having a nice conversation about this. But again, the way we got onto this Doug thing was, I don't care what your beliefs are. I care what you do with them.
Right.
So this guy's philosophical approach, the Catholic guy we were watching, I made this casual comment. It's like, look, this is very fascinating. And I'd never heard it before. It's fascinating to me. It's nice to know. It's nice to know new things. Nice to know what other approaches are. But when the rubber meets the road, where do you go with them? I mean, are you clinging on to your religious belief because you want to be an asshole you want to be a racist? Probably not. Maybe. I mean, not all religious people are going to go down that road. But some are. I mean, people like Mike Johnson, very definitely.
Yeah.
Believes that is convinced that God has told him to remove democracy and create a Christian nation.
Yeah.
So to that degree, I do, if he held those beliefs but didn't do anything with them, great. That means I'm off the hook. I don't have to go out there and fight. But I do have to go out there and fight when somebody is campaigning to take away the choices that are currently and have always been currently under law available to me and mine.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, one of the things that people really need to recognize, and the difference, the difference in nuance about trans rights, particularly outside of the LGBTQ framework, because our lesbian and gay siblings, there are actually laws against that, and we fought to overturn those laws.
Right.
Civil rights. We fought to overturn laws against miscegenation. There were terms about race mixing in law.
I know, terrible. And they're coming back.
There have never been laws forbidding gender affirming care.
Right. So the difference is
you're being imposed.
Right? Yeah.
They're being imposed, and I'm supposed to do what? Sit by and do nothing? When somebody with a fair amount of influence, you can say he's got no influence at all, but I'm not buying that. I think he has a lot of influence. I think he's got a number of followers who lap it up like it's ice cream because it's a Socratic method or whatever. They like the approach. But at the end of where the rubber meets the road is 28 states passing legislation, or either legislation passed or legislation introduced. 30%, as Pragmatic Crystal said in the chat, 30% of trans youth live in states where they can't access widely accepted medical care approved by dozens of accrediting bodies in medicine. So I don't know what you want me to do. It isn't nice to block the hallways. It isn't nice to go to jail. There are nicer ways to do it, but the nice ways always fail.
Yeah. No, I'm
It
with
isn't
you.
nice. It isn't nice. I told you
Um,
once, I told you twice. But if that's freedom's price, I don't mind. And I don't mind if I have to be blunt to tell people this is what's happening. And you're
Absolutely.
letting it happen. Thank you for letting me rant. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Now,
No, we're here for it.
I will now
We're here
go
for
back
it.
here and go back to the other thing.
Boom.
It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of work now. I know it's a pain in the butt, and it seems like you're drowning in your
Fuck
own
you.
But
My
think
sentiments.
you have the truth on your side. Doug does not, and I think your truth
Well, you
can
need
be
to
expanded
tell,
far better.
You perhaps need to. What I would love to come out of this is like you'll tell Doug that.
The time before any of this happened, actually, I had a conversation with Doug over poker, and the last word spoken was the very thing I basically just said about the doctor's office. There isn't a doctor who's going to violate their oath. That you don't need additional laws for any of this stuff. The doctor's oath is already going to cover it. You get the politicians and you get the priests out of the medical office, you don't have anything to worry about. This is just a boogeyman that the Republicans are just running on their ads.
All right, I just want to say something quickly about my own decision-making process with this. This is part of the reason I cut off people who were still associating with Doug. There is a time in which you deal with somebody that's ignorant of something, and when the rubber meets the road, you know, we're going to have a real conversation, and there's reason to believe that will remedy the situation. Doug is 100% not one of those people, and part of the calculus that I went through was, one, I realized the people that I thought I was mutually connected to, that were in Doug's life, were never going to be motivated to just to have these conversations with him. I thought that was asking too much of them, in a sense. But I also realized that even if they went that far and made that effort, that it would be totally ineffective, and that they'd just roll right through it. And so this conversation was confirmation of that. And it was just kind of interesting because it was like, yep, that went about like I expected it to. You think you can feel better for yourself of putting this out there, and what's Doug going to do? He's going to turn around in the next free afternoon on his schedule. He's going to be right back to antagonizing the trans people in your community. And that is why I called for people who really who have that association, but want to be allies or whatever. You're going to have to disassociate. There has to be consequences. Doug is a lot of things. He's not stupid enough to not know this, to the point that you're going to sit him down. He's going to go, oh, really? You mean supporting the right-wing policies in America is going to make politicians interfere in the medical care of trans people? Like, he knows that. He's well aware that people have to wrap their heads around this idea. Doug is a bigot and he's a cruel human being. Like, genuinely, like, I'm not even saying this to antagonize. I don't even go back and forth with Doug a lot. Y'all know why? Why don't I go back and forth every time when Doug takes a shot at me? There's no point. He's a cruel person. He gets his rocks off by this. We could both do it till we're blue in the face. I just mostly decide, probably not worth it. Unless I want to do content or whatever, like the last time. But I'll tell you guys straight up, Doug's thick. You understand what I'm saying? In the head, like he's not going to be that easy to get to. Okay, and I think they know this. I think people are well aware of the prejudices people have, and once in a while they try to put their take out there, but they do so in a way that I think is mild and accommodating, and it's more about making them feel like they're off the hook rather than genuinely influencing the problematic person. This is going to require some more direct action.
I would agree with you, except for the fact that several states have already passed these laws. I mean, have you ever read Martin Luther King's letter from a
No.
Birmingham jail?
No.
Please do. I just put a link in my chat. I don't know if you can see it.
I'm not able to, but I'm sure it's on YouTube. We could probably play it.
No,
Yeah,
it's not. It's
You have to read it.
Africa.upn.edu slash
It's like you.
articles
It's like you have to
_gen
read
slash-
history about Bull Connor.
Man, and gametes.
letter
You have to
underscore
read it.
Birmingham HTML.
Well, Steph,
You need to I despair at the historical knowledge of people that didn't go through the civil rights movement, don't understand how hard we fought for the liberties you enjoy, and you're gonna throw us under the bus when have tried. We've tried. I've tried.
Have tried.
My whole life, I've tried.
well, yeah, if yeah, I agree. I agree with you, Steph. There is definitely something on the horizon in which you have to choose. You either stand up and fight for absolutely everybody, even in the ones you detest, or it's all over.
We're taking that somewhere totally different. Oh my goodness.
Jay,
You go, I go. Quote back.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is what I wanted Tux to read.
Oh, go for it.
I must make two honest confessions to you, my Christian and Jewish brothers. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. I have almost reached the regrettable conclusion that the Negro's great stumbling block in his stride towards freedom is not the white citizens' counselor or the Ku Klux Klansman, but the white moderate, who is more devoted to order than to justice, who prefers a negative peace, which is the absence of tension, to a positive peace, which is the presence of justice, who constantly says, I agree with you in the goal you seek, but I cannot agree with your methods of direct action, who paternalistically believes he can set the timetable for another man's freedom, who lives by a mythical concept of time, and who constantly advises the Negro to wait for a more convenient season. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. That's what he needs to read, and he certainly needs to read it before he advises me to put out my hands in a cup.
Yeah, I mean that's just degrading at this point. We'd have been much more fierce about that if it wasn't so damn funny. But Yeah, that's what I had in mind actually, right? Is MLK's, because he's always brought up, but people overlook the fact that he was at that point more frustrated with white moderates, and the fact that even the nonviolence, the talk, all that, he recognized it as a tactic and not the ideal situation, but he was really way more outspoken than people give him credit for. So that's, I think, what
radical shit.
Yeah, that's what I think is going on in this community.
He was so radical that he got assassinated.
Yes. And
his favorability ratings at the time were underwater. I mean, it's just the notion that somehow or another he's some sort of beloved
yes, I know, it's
figure
annoying, right?
is absolutely ridiculous. The man was shot to death fighting for poor people's rights in a garbageman strike in Memphis, Tennessee,
With the FBI file on him like he was a goddamn mobster.
Why don't you just shut the fuck up and read something?
But right, Steph, even the shit we find out about him now, or since his death, it's like a lot of it's like the FBI files and shit. It's like they were treating him like he was like some sort of mob leader, some sort of gangster, some sort of organized crime figure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's insane. That's none of us, I think, can. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. I mean, people, civil rights leaders are definitely still, I believe, legitimately persecuted and threatened, and it's crazy that we're still living in those times. And again, that's, come on now, like we just dealt with the whole George Floyd situation and that whole deal, and
well, yeah,
the struggle's still real. I don't know what these guys, what's wrong
there.
with these guys.
I'm telling you what, man, it's the echoes there of demonization. It's like, oh well, he was passing bad paper. Oh well, he was on drugs. Oh well, he was this and that. As if that's an excuse to hold a man down for 15 minutes with your knee on his neck and murder him.
Awful.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, I understand.
It's pathetic that people sit there and it's just pathetic. It's pathetic. I don't know where the amnesia comes from. But these are the people that inherited that. The white moderate of today, the cis het moderate of today, who will go and as you say, play poker with the Ku Klux Klan. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
And this is the thing that's disturbing to me.
And
you have the fucking bloody gall to say, oh, well, you're right. And your ideas will win. But I'm not going to do anything to help them win.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's the perfect way to put it. It's a perfect way to put it.
All day.
Yeah.
Giacomo Finane. I mean, I love you, man. I just want. I'm honestly trying to get you to examine a little bit more carefully about where people at the tip of the spear stand, especially in the context of people who treat this as a joke. And honestly, Doug has said he is only doing this for fun.
He does his channel for fun.
Yeah.
He uses the Socratic method.
That's not an excuse. He uses demonizing people for fun. He uses You know,
It
should
was
I-
okay
should-
for him to demonize the Christians with that same method. It's okay to demonize
redirection. What
anybody who's
Crazy.
asking questions to it.
Tux.
That's how it works.
Really?
Why do you think Socrates was
No,
essentially murdered?
Tux.
Why? Because he asked hard
Tux.
questions to people who didn't want to hear.
No.
Yes,
No,
He was
He
murdered because he was
literally
accused of
said
corrupting the youth.
in-
That's what he
in-
was murdered
He
for.
literally
he was
said.
sentenced to death for corrupting the youth of Athens. Literally,
Right,
That's
which is a persecution that the LGBTQ community is much more likely to experience than fucking Doug.
correct.
After he went after Matt Dillahunty, after he went on Takis, and he decided that he was gonna target Matt and Arden
I didn't
with
see
clips
this.
for his channel, that he was doing it for fun.
I'm having too much fun.
That's not the Socratic
Doug.
method.
Exactly.
Quote, unquote.
I don't know what you're talking about. I haven't seen whatever this is that you're talking about.
Because you've got your fucking eyes closed.
Yep.
Okay.
So direct, Steph.
No.
Yes.
Well, thanks for having me
Maya,
on.
why? So.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Maya. He's absolutely portraying that he doesn't understand the difference between punching
Thanks,
down.
Regius. I appreciate that. I try.
I just got to say the chat was on fire. The chat was on point as always. You guys were killing it. You know, I would honestly say it was definitely a chat worth rereading if I were in Tux's shoes, man. You need to take it all in, bro, because
Well, I don't know.
people
I
are
don't
trying
know
to let you know.
I don't know what the chat. I don't know what the chat was saying in Tux's channel. I know what the chat was saying in my channel, and as I said at the end, you know, in the stream I did immediately afterwards, where I said, I don't think I need to talk to this guy at all anytime soon. I'm like, you know, I love you guys. I love all you folks who come over and listen to me rant, go off the rails from time to time, and I don't know. Maybe it's I know I'm terrible, but. I wish I hadn't completely lost it at the end of it, but I think you'll see why if you get to that the point where I completely lose it.
I'm the wrong person because I am biased. I have actually completely gone off on people as some may remember. So but no, I think it's fine. One, I gotta say, I was gonna wait till it comes up, but one, like I said, I think the emotion was real and we ought to learn to respect that. But part of the programming that we need to undo is really the politics of civility. We've got to stop you know, thinking that the person who comes the calmest is the person who's coming correct. The other thing is it's so patriarchal, right? It's so patronizing. It's not a damn audition. It's not a fucking job interview, right? It's supposed to be a real conversation. And when somebody's essentially staring hatred in the face with a smile, if we're not going to slap that smirk off your face, we're definitely going to try to let you know what time it is, right? And so no, I think it was warranted. No, really, seriously.
You've got the play button, Jay.
It's playing, I think. Yeah. He's reading. He's like silently reading comments.
I do. I honestly do try. I've gotten better at it over time. I admit I've gone over the top on several on several occasions, and been a real bitch.
Look, if I don't care if you critique me, I don't care if you think I'm stupid, because I am stupid. But I will say this:
stupid. I'm just trying to convince you to take a real good objective look at what's going on here.
I will say this. I don't see it. My genuine opinion is Tux can do so much better than Doug. If it's really the poker night, let's find the way to get together another poker night, because I really do think, like, I get that Pine Creek's popular and it's probably cool to feel like you're in the inner circle of a popular content creator, but I don't get it. I think, you know, from what when we were kicking it, you know, Tux was a cool dude. He clearly wants to get along with the people in this community. He clearly sees himself as an ally and somebody who's on the right side of these issues. So honestly, I think you should consider your request, Steph, because I honestly do think he can do better. Now, y'all know I don't like. I'm trying to be realistic. I'm trying to be realistic. I really do. Go ahead.
I really think he can do better. I mean, as I said, I think he is a personable guy. By his own testimony, he wants to be an ally, and I might have disabused him of the notion of even trying to be an ally, or at least not a friend of mine. But you're not. I'm trying to tell the guy for what seems like hours. This is not how allyship works. If you can be an ally if you're having constant social meetings with your friend and tell your friend they're doing it wrong.
Right.
I mean, that would be allyship, because I am in no position. I mean, I have had conversations with Doug. He's not changing his position. He's dug in on that.
Absolutely.
No pun intended. He's dug in on that. He is dug in on the idea that he is in a position to, with his votes, take away the decisions, take away the agency from parents and therapists and children to access care that those children might need. And there's this notion out there that Doug pushes in citing these ridiculous, debunked stories of how the medical profession is pushing children into being trans. I mean, I can't blame Doug entirely for this. I mean, it's on the front pages of the New York Times. It's in the op-ed pages of the New York Times. I forget who the lady is who is basically on the trans beat, but she clearly picks out the most egregious people who stand against trans ideology, which is a complete crock of shit.
Right.
If you show me 10 trans people, I'll show you 12 different ideologies.
Right.
The only thing that we have in common is the fact that we're trans. We'll argue about stuff, and it's like they're trans people on the very right side, right-wing side of political discourse, and there are trans people that are on the very left side of political discourse. And some of the people that are on the extreme right, like
Jenner.
whatever. You know him, you don't know him. It's Buck Angel or I don't know. I could pull out any number of people. It's, pull one out of the hat. The whole anti-transitioner stuff. It's the same 8 people you see all the time. The same detransition stories and detransitioners for anybody who has transitioned. They need all the compassion as well.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
I mean, anybody struggling with these issues need all the compassion and all of the understanding. But believe me, I wasn't pressured to be trans. In fact, quite the opposite. Most people aren't pressured. I mean, the downside is not great. I mean, the downside is profound. It's huge. And the thing that's missing is understanding, and that's all that's required. And understanding does not mean that I'll agree with Tux. Get the priests and the politicians out of the issue. I agree. Get Doug out of the issue too.
Yep, absolutely.
Get him out of the issue. I don't know what he does for a living, but it's certainly not in the medical field.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah. I'm an engineer, so therefore I know how to treat how to deal with people. It's like, what? I just have these opinions, and I'm just asking questions. Of course, they're Socratic questions, so therefore, you need to justify your answers to me, so you can justify them to yourself, and that'll make you stronger. Well, you know what? I've had to go through a whole ton of justifying myself, my experience, my life to other people just in order to be me. And that's the case for every fucking trans person I know.
Right.
Every fucking trans, especially those of us who transitioned years ago. Like 25 years ago, you needed 3 letters for medical professionals in order to begin steps.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's I don't know why people seem to think it's such an easy thing. It is very difficult dealing with this stuff, but it's also very easy if you're trans. You'll do it. You'll jump through those hoops. You'll do everything and anything just to be you.
Yeah, and that's I mean, I think a lot more people are starting to care because we're just recognizing how inhumane it is to deny people this care and deny them the support that they need. I think it's like a lot of us don't necessarily stay up on affairs in the Middle East or consider that to be something we're passionate about most times, right? But we recognize the current situation, and it shoots up people's priority list, and I think that's happening with trans issues as well. But it's happening on both sides, and so that's kind of the problem, I think.
Yeah, well, it's like in this particular situation, it's very often people that don't really have a good grasp on this stuff. But that's not really the issue I had here. It's like Tux clearly isn't up on the whole thing, but he doesn't need to be, because he's saying that he agrees, and this must have been terribly uncomfortable for him when I'm sitting there just saying, here's what you need to do to express your support for trans people. I don't expect you to do anything, but if you really think that trans people are valid, trans people require compassion and empathy, then you need to tell Doug that. You need to tell your friend who is acting without any empathy whatsoever, who will get on stream with King Xerxes and make fun. I mean, you have that clip of King Xerxes talking with Doug.
Oh yeah, we did that. Yep.
Talking with Doug, and saying the problem with trans people is that they're not attractive enough. And when he says trans people, he means women.
Yep.
So what's packed into that? What's packed into that is a huge dollop of misogyny. You're not attractive enough. You're too ugly to present your case. Now, is that the Socratic method, I ask you? Is it really? When you're with your big bro there, with a fucking avatar with a 6-pack on his goddamn, a 12-pack on his stomach.
Yeah.
Who uses this presentation of macho man, and you sit there and have this back and forth conversation about how ugly trans women are. That's really the Socratic method. So I really don't fucking think that was the goal
100%
of that back and forth. And I don't understand why it is so goddamn difficult. I do understand why it's so goddamn difficult. It's because he doesn't want to piss off his pal. And it's like, okay, fine. You don't want to piss off your pal. Hey, Herman, where'd you get those paintings? I think they're lovely, but maybe you shouldn't kill the Jews for them.
Yep.
Well, I only do it for fun.
I know. I can't. I mean, I hate to say this, but that's what makes him, to me, even worse than a lot of the religious folks. A lot of those nuts, at least, are uncomfortable with it because they recognize it goes against their human instinct, and but they're too stuck on the damn book. Pine Creek will sit back and Pine Creek will sit back and laugh in your face and just say it's having a good time. What's the problem?
If you liked Doug when he was using his method against the Christian, and now you don't like Doug because he's used it against whatever you're being questioned on.
Stuff's like, I didn't even watch the guy.
Okay, then what are we talking about here?
I'm talking seriously about what the end game is. Where if I personally, I'll say it again. I don't care about what you believe. I care about what you do with your beliefs. If it is more important to you,
I have no idea,
to defeat Christians than it is to ensure human.
See you, Tony.
Hey, Jay. Mind if I Nitty?
Oh, go for it. Hey, Nitty. Yeah, let's get it.
All right, keep rolling.
Okay.
Social socialist sense. It's more than usually drink it. I give it all the. I don't know what we go means. Work for the people. All right. Do Do we want to go back to went down a rabbit trail?
And we did. We did.
Do we want to go back to read
I'm reading Nitty's comments.
Yeah, I
Reed's
think,
Royal
that,
Rumble?
I think it'd be good. Like Father Charles is intriguing to me. It's like all of his stuff, and then of course there's the ridiculousness of
earlier
P-Town. But
versions of man, like you're talking about the early hominids kind of thing, like going back to them.
No,
I gotta get
that's
more
actually,
eyes.
no, I might have been a little bit unclear. I apologize.
Well, I'm just trying to sort of filter in what you mean by big, because what usually people are talking about when they're talking about a beast
That might not be a bad idea.
is
I think we'll
usually
get something to drink too.
metaphorical. It's usually some sort of
Wait, all right, we
I mean,
can skip
we
this.
are
You guys, I don't know you guys went
classified
back into
animals. There's
this for a
no-
while.
yeah, we
there's
did.
no
Yeah.
sort of
Oh, what the hell? No, we got dipped.
our cities clean, safe, and beautiful again is to open up large parcels of inexpensive land in the outer reaches of the cities.
What?
See it, and neither is Pine Creek.
Them hard, but build them fast and create thousands and thousands of high quality tents, which can be done in one day. And you have to move people out. Now, some people say, oh, that's so horrible. No, what's horrible is what's happening now. Because now they're in tents, but most of them aren't even tents that function. But we have to do it because you can put up a tent in one day.
DNA.
It would be 2 years, 3 years, long time if you're going to build housing.
Hey, Nitty. All right, let's get back to where. All right, here we go.
The answer. to
Whoever
that
the
question.
religious organization that the Christians deem the next enemy. I mean, that right there is where the front line is. It's the homeless. If Trump gets in office,
Is he for real? I didn't even say. That's insane.
This is where I go off, Jay. This is the first time I go off. I
That's
think.
insane. You are literally talking to a trans person saying the front line is the homeless. Oh, and by the way, where do you think your main man Doug stands on the motherfucking homeless? This is what another thing that Doug apologists need to recognize. He is a broadband bigot. He is one of the people who epitomizes the word bigot because it is shorter than using this particular prejudice of other people, right? Normally you got to say so-and-so is a bigot. And he'd be like, well, who are they prejudiced against? Oh, they're racist. Oh, they're sexist, right? And you've done more work, right? Because you've had to say bigot, and then you'd have to specify which type of bigot they are. But when somebody is all the type of bigotries, no, you just say they're bigot and you're done. That's why we have the word, then you're done. And you're done. And again, we have the tape on it. We have the tape on his racism, his sexism. Oh, don't get us started talking about classism. People don't realize that's like his favorite is to just throw poor people, especially poor people from other countries, under the bus. He's a January 6th apologist. I wish I was kidding. Well, like, what is there to defend? All right. I'm sorry. Let's go
it's
ahead.
the homeless. He's going to round them up, put them in concentration camps. He's going to call beautiful and build them hard.
Oh my goodness.
That will be the first sign. That will be the first sign right there. You're next. I'm next. We're all next. And if we live in a world in which we don't let that first domino fall,
First domino's already fallen, mate, and that's what I'm here to
Seriously.
tell you. The first domino's already fallen.
The-
Trans children cannot access health care in Missouri, in Texas, in Florida. The first domino's already fallen, and you don't fucking see it, and neither is Pine Creek, and God damn it. You know, you're 3 steps behind. And you haven't done anything yet, and I don't see that you're going to do anything anytime soon. And you're sitting there making fucking excuses for a guy who thinks that it's okay.
To me, Stephanie, what you just did, your explosion there against Doug, is the Streisand effect.
Fuck you.
Fuck
you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Thank you. Don't need to deal at this point.
You can do better than this.
It's true. Every fucking single word I just said is true.
I understand it's true.
Open your eyes, mate.
But putting your focus on Doug is not going to do a fucking thing.
It's not Doug. Right now, my focus is on you.
That is who you
were
talking about. That's who you were pointing the finger at just now.
Jesus Christ. Dude.
Why point the finger at Doug?
Okay.
All right, but this is why a lot of people on the quote unquote left, a lot of progressives, a lot of allies need to delete their YouTube channels because they can't do this stuff. Now you're affected party, so you're just you threw rocks at my house. Yeah, it's fighting time. But this is what we've been talking about, right? This is because there's so much of this platforming bullshit that happens, right? This is what MDD didn't do, right? When Homeboy went off on Matt Dillahunty.
Oh, listen, Jay. If I were this was on Tux's stream, and I kind of feel bad because I get in there and took a dump on his kitchen table. But if I were in his shoes, I would have kicked me.
Yeah, sure, of course. I mean, yeah. But he was.
So I gotta wonder if if he didn't, I wonder why not? Because I would have kicked me. I would have just said, yeah, she's lost her shit, and this is over. Okay, so we don't need this. But on the other hand, show me the lie.
Yeah.
In what I said.
Yeah. Yeah, and
show me the lie.
And honestly, you guys were having a real conversation. You guys were trying to get through to each other. And I'm glad he didn't. You were both thinking about it. It's clear he was thinking about it at times. It's clear you were thinking about it at times. But you guys hung in there. But I just want to make the point. But that's kind of the thing, the tone I think it takes to really confront some of these bad ideas. And I understand that a lot of people just don't have it in them, but we've got to really be direct, at least as direct as you can be, because that's the energy that's required.
Point the finger. Purple over in the chat's going to say, because clicks, et cetera, and so forth. And yeah, I agree. And sure, love you both to death because you're absolutely right. And I go on about this all the time. Once more clips of why, just like, what the, But I think these are important conversations. I think this is important somehow or another.
Yeah, no, I think it's what's happening in the bigger community, and I think we hear this language all the time. It's not always in defense of Doug, but it's the mentality that's cultivated with the debate me culture. Oh, what are your arguments? What are the evidence for your arguments? And we're susceptible to this.
No, Nitty, we can't hear you and we can't see you, by the way.
Yeah.
Can't hear you,
we'd
can't
love
see
to do
you.
both.
We'd love to. I've been waiting for you to chime in.
Come on, punk. You two punk, give me a break.
No, I won't.
I am.
I'll point the finger at you.
So he's mad that YouTube punk said he's victim blaming.
Because it's happening. It's already happened.
So you were the first domino and not the homeless.
Dude, again, like selective attention.
No, not only that, I put in the chat. I put in the chat. I currently cook and shower in my shop and I sleep in my car. I'm unhoused.
Right.
That's what really set me off there. And this is further setting me off because what is happening? You are now taking two underserved communities, one of whom is, well, actually, both of whom are subject to a massive media campaign to demonize them. And you're sitting there giving me advice as to how to behave politically in my own interests. This
Yes.
is what really got me. We were having a fine conversation around the issue, but it really got me when on two issues that do apply to me, I'm getting advice from this guy who is hanging out with a person who is using their relatively large-ish platform in the community, in the space that I inhabit, to denigrate and to push the notion that both of those communities are somehow undeserving of compassion. That's what got me.
Oh yeah, it's I again completely reasonable, and yeah, it's interesting too. It's like every Donald Trump and all of the MAGA candidates have sworn to eliminate the trans ideology on day one. On day one, so I don't know where he gets
Yes,
off
and
thinking
lock
that,
up the homeless in
yeah,
camps.
yeah. So
Yes.
I don't know where he thought that was less of a priority for them, but that's insane.
I mean,
And again, where does he
know-
think Doug is about with regard to homeless? Because I can tell you right now, and most of the people in
Nitty,
chat
you're
can tell
there.
you right now.
I can see you. I think that means that. I think that's a good sign. We can see Nitty now.
All
I
right,
will
let's
click
add him
and
Yeah,
add you
let's-
to the stage for the third time and let you get a word in edgewise because we've been talking all the time.
All right. How are we
Nitty.
doing now?
Nitty.
we're doing good.
Yeah, okay.
Better for having you here.
All right. So I'm going to kick off with, Tux and I have history. I haven't touched this matter in a while.
Sure.
With him. Some of our streams together have just been shoot the shit. Let's go over goofy Christian content. All right. So just to kick the next statement I want to say is, I don't know if you guys have missed it, and I'm not saying that you are oblivious or blah.
I'm
I'm not
oblivious.
trying to say this in a negative way, but there have been times on Pine Creek's channel where he kind of admits to some level of sociopathicness, right? That he literally cannot access empathy for others, which is a
He has told me that.
Yeah,
he has told me that
so
directly.
I'm not saying that
actually.
excuses anything, but I think
No, it doesn't.
maybe that's it. I think
Yeah,
it should be
push back.
some level, base level consideration. Not to say like excuses anything, So that's more for people who are in the chat that aren't watching Doug every day or
Sure.
whatever. There was a reaction that Tux had with you, Stephanie, that Autistic Berserker, if you disagree with me, whatever. Where was I going? Right. There was an interaction between you and Tux where he said, I might be stupid with this. You know what? Hell, I am stupid. Okay. So I have, bipolar disorder, and like a what's it called? I have like a rejection dysphoria. Okay.
Mm.
So I regularly deal with fighting negative narration about myself. And people don't have to say a word to me, and that is the kind of stuff that will come out of my mouth. In that moment where he's having difficulty handling getting the situation into like a baseline of calmness or mutual agreement or peace, as it were, he's struggling with the perception that you don't like him, or that he is going to be seen by you and others as a bad person, or as someone who's not capable of getting to the understanding you're asking. Or, it's a deferral to, I'm going to say some negative things about me as a defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not totally in his head, but that's sure as hell what it sounded like to me. It's a way,
Yeah.
it's a defense
with that.
mechanism that people, some people like myself, will utilize as kind of like whether you're conscious of it or not, it's like a please don't hurt me as much, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
I want you, like, I'm just going to agree with you in a negative way to kind of try and get you to be more peaceable with me, right? Oh yeah, I'm stupid, kind of, feel bad for me a little bit about this, or like, I don't know how I want to put this into words exactly, but it's very, very difficult to be in that state of mind. And it's
Hmm.
when you kind of are collapsing in on yourself when you're in confrontation, it's a lot harder to get out of that confrontation. And what I mean by get out of is to make that confrontation positive, or to make that confrontation constructive, or to really hear how someone is asking you to change. Because now you've lost. You've lost the battle. You're perceiving that you've lost the battle with the other person, but more so you've lost the battle with yourself. And so you're going to turn off.
That's a really good perceptive point, Nitty. That is a super good perceptive point.
Yeah, and so
No
you're going to
question.
turn off to an extent, and more defenses might come up. There could be some kinds of rationalizations, like, well, please let's rescue me from this. What I'm doing isn't that bad, or oh, you're right. I just don't understand. So can we go back 25 steps and go back through this again? So please help. Or what's the other thing that'll happen? Deflection, right? Oh, well, this is about a bigger scheme over here. It's not really about me, right? It's about something over here. It's a depersonalization effect. Like, I can't handle how rejected I'm feeling right now, so I need to move this off of me a bit to some other arena or some other analogy to kind of get this load that I'm taking on from this conversation, from this conflict. And that's what I was hearing. I'm sitting over here on the floor sorting Legos, and I'm like, holy shit, he sounds just like me. These are the kind of strategies that I employ when someone could be even giving me minor criticism. And
That's
I
super
panic.
perceptive. Really
So-
appreciate this.
Yeah, no,
I mean,
appreciate it. Yeah.
And I'm not saying
yeah.
that, Tux has any of these kind of mental conditions. It can be so natural to some people. Like myself, like this is like breathing for my life. But for others, it can just pop up out of nowhere, because maybe they're just not used to that level of confrontation, and poof, a self-deprecation comes out. And I think that's worth more looking into for him than anything else. But yeah, as soon as I heard that, I'm like, nope, I got to get on this stream.
Yeah,
Because
it stuck out. It jumped out to me, and it's. I think you're onto something, because it hit me a bit disingenuous. Like we know that you're not stupid, but it seemed like a minor thing. But no, I think the way you laid it out actually makes sense to me, because I do think he was genuinely trying to be humble in the moment. I don't think he was trying to. It just was like, it just hit me like it's a weird thing to say.
well, so
And
again,
I tried really hard to give him the roadmap, the way out. It's like all you needed to do at any point in time was say, yeah, I can do that. I can talk to Doug. And that's basically all I was asking him to do. It's like, what you need to do to be an ally is talk to Doug and tell him to quit it. And to keep in mind of the impact, recognize in your own head the damage that Doug is doing on his channel. I mean,
yeah, and it may take
right there.
It may take some time, or hearing it from a different voice, or may not happen. But part of what helped me, because like I said, this was tough for me at first. I really was a big Pine Creek fan. Was I realized the consequences. There's always consequences, so somebody's paying the consequences, right? If somebody's being problematic in the community, there are going to be consequences. The question is, what are the consequences and who's paying them? For me, the consequence was I had people in marginalized groups who were basically questioning me, like, why are we still getting down and promoting these people given this association? And so I'm realizing, holy shit, there's actually relatively more or less innocent people in our community who don't have YouTube channels, don't be on panels, none of that shit, but they're watching and they're paying attention. And there's certain content creators they've come to feel an affinity for, or a friendship with, or certain closeness to, right? And they're going, man, like, really, nobody's gonna call this shit out? Like everybody, we just gonna all just roll with this and be cool with it. And so I realized, like, that wasn't fair to them, and it wasn't fair to me. And that was kind of where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something different, because there's that cost, and like Steph said, there's that things you can do. So same thing happened with like the Young Turks, right? Like I used to watch the Young Turks like every fucking day, right? And then there's the whole debacle with Anna Kasparian, and I think the first slip up, people were kind of like, okay, that wasn't too good, but then there was more of it, and then it was just like, all right, I'm out. It's not the way we draw it up. It's not what we want. But sometimes it's realizing that you can get yourself out of that situation, and that's what's required of you. And I think that's tough with friends. It's tough to realize that you and a friend may not be good for each other.
I mean, I think that I think that Nettie, I think that's, first of all, it's tremendously perceptive, and absolutely, I agree. I think that probably has something. It has something to do with what's going on here, and the dynamic was sort of feeding upon itself. It's I was trying so hard to be charitable without getting. But then, the justifications, the argument kept going. There had to be more. It was just piling on and piling on and piling on of why Doug is innocent in all of this. I must defend my friend.
Well,
And
ostensibly,
I'm sitting there praying, please look at what your friend is doing and look at the position you're in to have an influence upon your friend to get him to stop doing it.
right. I mean, as someone who went through that stuff at the beginning of this year, it feels like
I don't even remember.
Fuck off.
Oh man.
When you've had a longer standing relationship with someone, and I can't imagine what this kind of confrontation will be like for him, because he's been in like a parasocial relationship with Doug for a much longer time than I was.
Mm.
And so, especially with the motivation to be a creator and be platformed and promote stuff for the time until this all started, in a way, I think it's going to be inescapable to feel like that there's some, and as you say, Jay, like how many barbecues do you do go with the KKK before you're kind of a racist, right? He's trying to fight the indictment on his own character.
Yeah.
And when you kind of collapse during that, you don't have too many options. There's going to be justification, redirection, or further deprecation. And it's very difficult to redirect from that. And not keep that conflict going, or just be like, okay, I'm done with the stream. Like me, I would just been like, okay, if I had any senses left, I would just shut it down. I just be like, I'm closing the window. Fuck this. I'm out.
Yeah.
I just finished saying that. I don't know if you heard me say that. It's like, I don't know why he even kept it going. It's once it got to that point. If it had been me and I found myself getting into this thing, it's like, maybe we can talk about this another time. And thanks for coming in.
Yeah, because this is tough to do live. Yeah, it's
whatever.
so tough to do live. Yeah.
If it had been me, I would have done that.
Yeah.
Because, it was clear I was getting agitated. I was getting really agitated. And I got even more agitated, and it didn't end well, unfortunately. I kept saying, I love you, man. It's like, I don't want this to end badly, but it ended badly. It's the way it wound up.
Yeah. Well, that's all I really had to say. I mean, I'm looking forward to listening to the rest.
Sure. All right.
That's all I really wanted to come on for, because
we're rounding.
You should stay.
Yeah, I got to look at this shit. Look at this. Look at this. My kids and I can't walk through that shit. I got to get this done.
You're getting here.
All right,
man.
Keep sorting the Legos.
Do this. If I don't get it done, I'm going to wake up tomorrow and step on all that shit and be like, God damn it, I didn't give myself time to sort things. But you guys are important to me. I love you guys. Thank you for having me on.
Love you too, Nitty.
I just wanted to
offer that. At one point say maybe we can continue this elsewhere, but I don't know.
I just wanted to offer that kind of perspective again, and I want to clarify that I'm not saying this is a persistent, part of his character or whatever, but in that moment, that's what I was hearing, and the fact that it just continued on the way it did, I'm like, you're kind of my tip, buddy.
Yeah, no, keen observation, Nitty. Keen observation, and thanks for stopping by, man. We'll be hanging out. We'll be hanging out and gather after, so maybe we'll see you there.
All right, cool. Yeah.
All right, later on.
We're rounding up the trans and putting them someplace where there's going to be excellent medical care and bathrooms, and
What?
God, man.
No,
Trans,
I don't think so.
Trans
That's
children
what they've said.
and families are right now denied access to medical care.
I
In
feel like I'm speaking in a
Texas
foreign tongue.
and Florida and Arkansas and Missouri and Utah and Idaho right now.
And here's the thing. Doug has zero influence on any of that. So why focus on Doug?
Oh my God.
Why focus
are
on me?
you focusing on Doug? I am saying that
because
his ideology, the words he is saying is in support of what is happening now.
okay. And what are you doing about it? What do you want me to do about it? Because it's not Doug.
Support him. Tux.
Doug has nothing to do with it. You just mentioned something in Texas. Doug has zero influence on Texas. He's not even going to vote in Texas. His vote's going to be in Arizona.
Am I still hearing?
My God.
Am I still hearing Nitty? Is Nitty still added to the stream stuff?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Why are you?
I just wanted to make sure
why
we're
are
not
you
invading his
supporting
privacy.
Why are you? Why is it so hard to basically say he's wrong?
I don't have any problem saying Doug is wrong. I said that probably 2 hours ago. However, Doug's method is to make you stronger. The Socratic method makes you stronger.
Mate, I do not need other people to make me any stronger than I am now. I've had plenty of people throw their Socratic method at me from when I was 3 years old.
Well, then you have the truth on your side. And Doug does not. Your story is far better than Doug's. And putting him on a pedestal as somehow the one worthy of the blame in all of this.
You're the guy. You're the guy putting him on a pedestal. I think the guy's an asshole.
Yeah, that was a
But
projection.
you're unwilling to basically say, the guy's an asshole.
Okay, I agree he's an asshole. What does he have to do with anything? He doesn't provide you with any solace. He doesn't provide you with any future. He has zero voice in this, in my opinion, compared to yours. And
Well,
if you put him as the one, if YouTube Punk is going to point the finger like this, as it was said somewhere around, I don't know, I can't find it.
Oh, wait, he said it was victim blaming. It absolutely is 100% victim blaming. This is good for you. It's going to make you stronger. You should be able to put up with this. You should tell your story. Absolutely victim blaming. Look, I'm going to just give y'all a hint. Man. Especially if y'all out there, y'all got little YouTube channels, your content creator, whatever. Let me just tell you something. You got to know your people. You got to know who the regulars in your channel are, who the regulars on your community are, and what's going on in their head. Okay? I'm not saying that gives somebody carte blanche pass, everybody fucks up, but if YouTube Punk is coming at you like that, you probably sitting on some bullshit.
But here is my plea to you. Don't treat it like a war. Don't treat it like a fight. Bring the facts. Bring the truth. And you'll win. It's just that simple. I know it sounds naive. I know it sounds like rainbows and unicorns.
Tux, how old are you?
What does that matter?
It matters a lot. How old are you?
You Tupac reposted the comment. Oh, I love it.
What's the context
I
of the
love it.
question?
That's so
Like,
How
good.
many fights have you been through? Political fights.
I don't.
What was
I
your
don't know.
first presidential election?
That I voted in or remember?
Okay, remember.
Ford and Carter.
Okay. That you voted in.
George W. versus Dukakis. George H.W. versus Dukakis.
Who'd you vote for?
George H.W.
Were you fully committed?
To George H.W. Bush?
Mhm.
Yes. I voted for him twice.
Oh, you did.
Yeah.
So you voted for Bush against Clinton.
I voted for Bush against Clinton.
Who'd you vote for in the next election?
I voted for Kemp and Doyle. If I remember
Okay.
correctly.
So you've
I
been
liked
on
Kemp,
the right
I didn't
side
like
of
Doyle.
history all the way along.
Yeah. Yes. I did not vote in 04, but that would have been the first election I would have voted for a Democrat.
Here's a guy
That was
who's
for Kerry.
telling me all about the
But
civil
I
rights
didn't-
movement. He's voted for fucking motherfucking Republicans the entire time. You think?
Yeah.
Just saying. You know, it's like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I mean, if Pine, you know, if Pine Creek really struggles with, you know, sociopathic tendency, dude's got to manage, right? Because what we get, we can only go off what we get, and we get a very sort of sick enjoyment of having takes that are harmful to others, and you know, I don't know how to evaluate that, because to me, Doug has enough awareness. There's sort of research that shows there are basically people who are what we would consider, you know, some sort of on the spectrum of sociopathy, right? But what a lot of them do is they'll say things like, well, I show up to work on time and I'm really good, try to be a really good coworker, and I'm faithful to my wife, and I don't abuse my children, and right. And they'll say they've learned that that's what's required to not lose everything. They've realized that people can't let their harm, they can't just suffer harm at this individual's hands just because. And that's the deal with Doug. I don't know anything. You'd have to talk to people who know Doug better than I do. I don't know anything about that. From my perspective, Doug seems like a person who is very cool. I've heard him mention not empathizing with others and stuff like that, but he always, from what I've seen, portrays it as a choice he makes and something that he boasts of. It's hard for me to feel sympathy for something that someone isn't being sympathetic about. Like he doesn't I haven't seen him portray that this is something he struggles with.
Make it back. I didn't make it back to hometown. I was supposed to go back the night before, and it was just pouring rain. I almost had an accident about a mile away from where I was living in a borrowed car, and decided it's not worth going and voting. So,
I just, I
and
just
beyond.
wanted to get a sense of what your, what where your sense of the zeitgeist even started. But we can, I guess we can. Look, I know that my arguments are fine. I've argued against Doug himself. It doesn't matter. The guy doesn't matter to me at all.
Mm-hmm.
What
Yeah,
matters
leave
to
him.
me, is the willingness of so many within this orbit
Yes.
to just excuse his rampant racism, transphobia,
There it is.
etc., and so forth. The guy's not a good guy.
I
He's a
disagree with that.
personable guy, kind guy, probably great to his friends, good to hang out with. But the way he plays to his audience. Did you see how he coddled what's his face, King Xerxes?
Don't even know who King Xerxes is.
Well, he's just sitting there yucking about about he-she's and stuff. I mean, it's dude, you think that's gonna endear him to me? It's like, well, you can tell me, don't give a shit about that. But the man has tons of followers, including you. And you think let's give Doug a pass because he's a nice guy. He's an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
He's an
No,
asshole.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree with that.
Great.
I don't think he's a bad guy, though. And
Being a
I do
bad
believe
guy,
your
being
truth,
a bad
your
guy, I
truth is
guess,
going to
is
defeat him.
relative depending on where you stand in terms of his dismissiveness of who you are. Notice how
I said,
I mean,
I didn't think Doug was a bad guy. Just an asshole. And notice how Tux agreed. Yeah, he's an asshole. Okay, there's an area of common ground. He's an asshole, but he's a nice guy, personable guy, comes off all right. Again, the whole I enjoy this guy's art collection on account of that. But even though
it's exactly.
it's
And it shows you the weakness of the moderates. Is that all it takes? It's like they taught me coming up: warm smile, firm handshake. That's who you guys are. Who they were talking about. Because if somebody's got a warm smile and a firm handshake, you'll let them get away with murder, literally. Well, I don't know. Well, he doesn't cheat at cards, so he's clearly got the high moral character. He's never lied to me, the type of reasoning, man. Like,
well, and the other thing I wanted to throw in here was my very first interaction with
Doug, and I don't remember whose channel it was on. Some third party. My very first interaction with the guy, we had a conversation, and we're going along, and I was sort of telling him my story, just like, oh well, I've never met you. How do you do? This is me, and blah blah blah. And in the process of doing that, he goes, well, you're strong, right?
Oh, I remember that line. Yes.
You're strong.
Yes. You can handle
And
it.
I go, yeah, you're strong. You can handle it. And I go, yeah, I am. But that shouldn't be the point when it comes to having empathy and compassion for people. It's like, well, are you strong enough? Are you tough enough? And it seems like Doug is really, this is the thing. It seems like Doug is like really impressed with, are you tough enough? And that's it. You know, are you tough? You shouldn't be weak.
Right.
And it's like,
Right.
it's your buddy, your toxic masculinity is showing through right now.
100%. 100%. Yeah, Steph, this is really important. And I mean, and this is a lot of what I think the larger problematic narrative is that we fall into these tendencies that it's okay to say these things and think this way. And I just think I love how you spelled out that this is not helping. That's really the message of this, is that when you hear people talking like this, just let them know that this is not helping.
Good on you, Tux, to feel like, okay, I'm not a bad guy as far as Pine Creek Doug is concerned. But you know what? People who maybe you care about are disparaged by this asshole on a daily fucking basis.
Mm-hmm.
And I would hope that someone who gave a shit would recognize that. It's not a question of whether Doug, whatever his last name is, has massive influence on the next presidential election or not, or whether I do, or whether you do. Just, this guy has a shit ton of followers on his main, on Maine, and I don't know, 6,000 or whatever on politics. It's like, the guy's an asshole.
Yeah. Well, I'll agree with you there. I don't believe he's a bad guy. And diplomatically,
just an asshole.
I will agree with I'll agree with you. There is a lot of things he does not need to be saying anything about trans, but he's chosen to.
Because it's fun for him. He's having fun with it. And he's having fun with it at somebody's expense. And he doesn't give a fuck. And apparently you don't either.
Purple, I think you and Steph have more influence on this subject than Doug does.
Yeah,
Pause.
but we don't have any influence.
Pause.
I got it as quick as I could.
Folks in the audience, this is where I totally lose it.
Yeah, this honestly what we've been waiting for the whole time.
because he brought in this notion, and this is where Doug is actually pernicious. He has Tux convinced that purple rhymes with orange, and that YouTube punk and I will win the battle because we're stronger.
even though we're not. We just aren't. It's guys like Tux and Doug who are way stronger in their influence than we'll ever be. I mean, it's all very well to be, it's like, this is the Christian thing. Jesus picked up his cross and marched to Calvary, and he came out stronger because he was God. I'm not God. Purple's not God.
Right.
You shouldn't have to ask us to sacrifice who we are in order to carry justice on. I mean, come on.
Yeah. Yes.
This is the Christian mindset. You're asking me to die for your sins.
Mm.
And I ain't Christ.
Mm. I'm with you, Steph. That was perfect. I'm gonna roll it. Let's do it. Let's
on
do
you because you won't disown the guys having
Why would I disown him?
fun
Why would I
at
disown him?
our expense. You don't understand, Tux. You put yourself here. You are putting yourself here.
Mm.
This isn't true. That
No,
just isn't true.
it is true. You are putting yourself in the camp of a person who has said directly that he is having fun at trans people's expense.
Yes. And if you want to focus on how many followers he has and you want to focus on what he says about you and what you have a conversation about him, it is going to do you no good. I'm telling you, your truthful stories,
Fuck, man.
and YouTube Punk and Purple, your stories, your ability to be in the present is far better than focusing on whatever Doug says.
Shut the fuck up. We know who we are. You don't care about us. You care more about fucking Pine Creek than you care about us. You just
I did
shut
not say
the fuck
that.
up. Hey,
I did not
listen,
say
man. You just shut the fuck up. You don't get to patronize the pain we suffer and sit there and defend your pal. You don't. You don't. And you can fuck off.
There you go.
Good day, sir.
Steph, that's it. We made it. We made it. We made it. Honestly, I didn't know if you let me do this. I didn't know which would, but I honestly, I felt like that was one of the realest things I've seen happen in this community. And I've popped off a few times at people. It's how I've ended a bunch of my engagements with Christians and different people out here. But like I said, I
Again, the sheer arrogance of asking Purple and YouTube Punk and myself to carry this burden when we're not in a position to do so, and you are, and you refuse to. Well, yeah. At that point, you can just go fuck yourself. I'd apologize, and I am sorry I lost it, but I hope in
watching this, you understand why. Time and time and time again. And I also appreciate what Nitty had to say. It's like Doug violated, I'm sorry, not Doug, but Tux violated the first rule of holes. He's putting it on us to just, oh, well, Doug wants to make sure that kids like you, kids like the kids you were, never get the help you needed.
Mm.
And I'm gonna let that slide.
And can you imagine though? You spend your whole life watching all of this develop, for lack of a better expression, praying for advances in care, praying for advances in societal understanding and acceptance, only to get them and have people use every lever of power they can get their hands on to keep it away from you. And then some of them have the audacity to say in public on videos in English words that we can understand that they're doing it just for fun.
Yeah.
But Steph, that's the same exact outrage I felt. It's the same exact outrage because I did not understand how somebody could be blatantly racist in this community. I didn't see that coming. And when the issue happened with me and Doug, it went down pretty much like the same way. Like he made his little crazy video. It was people that came on there before him and was like, Doug, this is, this looks pretty racist. Like, this isn't good. You shouldn't be doing this. I got on there and tried to tell him, like, it was a big thing. Like people were really seeing it. And then they started paying attention to some of his other stuff and people really started to like speak to it directly. Like, nah, this dude's racist. And still had people defending him. And that hurt. It was like, and it made you not believe people when they say that they really are anti-racist or that they're an ally, that they oppose these things. So I felt every bit of that rage. Every bit of it.
I don't know. The whole thing was a little disturbing. What I didn't appreciate throughout, and I maintained my calm through most of the stream. But that was the last straw. I sat through the pontificating about the civil rights movement. I sat through the pontificating about the peace movement. As I said, literally, my brother-in-law was on the Edmund Pettus Bridge. My sister worked at a settlement house in Augusta, Georgia in 1961 and 2. They were part of the Freedom Ride movement. My sister's 15 years older, and she's no longer with us, and I miss her terribly. I myself was active in the anti-war movement, and to have this guy bring this guy who has voted for Republicans his entire goddamn life tell me, this guy who didn't know who Bull Connor was, this guy who didn't know what anything about Martin Luther King's letter from a Birmingham jail or anything about the guy's life, to have him lecture me about political struggle, someone who lived through and was active in the struggle for LGBTQ rights, to have him tell me that I needed to listen to Pine Creek Doug's Socratic method to make me stronger?
I know.
I mean, where the fuck do you get off? You are.
the very my Christian and Jewish and atheist brothers. First, I must confess that over the past few years, I've been gravely disappointed with the white moderate. Shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Lukewarm acceptance is much more bewildering than outright rejection. That's who I'm talking to when I'm talking to these people sometimes. I have your back, they'll tell me. I'll say that's very nice. Thank you for having my back. Have you noticed that my back is against the wall? Have you noticed the firing squad? My back is well taken care of. Take care of the firing squad.
Mm.
And while I appreciate it that you're going to offer me a last cigarette, that's not the kind of help I need right now. Do something. What do you want me to do? I want you to tell Doug to quit it. That your fun at my expense isn't worth it. And if you can't see that his fun at my expense isn't worth it, then you don't have my back. You don't have my best interests at heart. You don't care about me. And you don't care about Purple. And you don't care about YouTube Punk. And your platitudes directed at us fall flat.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it was all just incredibly insensitive. Steph, thanks so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it. I did think it was sort of an example of the wider problem with the moderates that we have in this community and how it comes down on these conversations. We've seen much bigger channels than Doug's fall short on this very issue. So yeah, just thanks for doing this with me. And it's not lost on me that this was some real shit. And you had a lot of real emotion on the line, and appreciate you being willing to revisit it with me for our benefit. So thank you.
Well, I appreciate your for both of us working through the tech issues. I mean, I think it's valid. I really want to revisit this, and it really is a tender spot, and I feel bad about losing it, but I did want to have the opportunity to explain to my audience why, and I appreciate your wanting to cover this on your channel, and I really appreciate us working together to make this happen. So
yeah, definitely. And we have one example of what it looks like to speak directly to the issue when it comes up. And it's tough. It's tough. So you put a lot out there for us, Steph. Thanks so much. And gang, the chat was on fire, and Tux's channel and Steph's channel and both of our channels tonight. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, always a pleasure to have you guys here. So
hey, listen, subscribe to Jay, subscribe to me, hit the like button, all that stuff. My stuff is linked in my contact information, etc. And if you want to drop a coin in the cup for me or Jay, we're always appreciative.
Yes,
and
yes,
I love you people.
Absolutely, same. Love you guys so much. All right. We'll see you later.
We gone.